What's up with it? Thank y'all for tuning in. This is your boy, CaineCEO, host of the Crown Table Podcast, owner of Stone Upper Media Group. Now, before we get into this, I want to make this clear, have a disclaimer. I am not Crip, nor do I move and operate under the Crip guidelines. I operate solely under the almighty structure. So, with that being said, I'm not getting this to be inside Crip business. So, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Brick Baby, shout out to T-Rail, shout out to Back on Fig and DW Flame, everybody associated with their movements. This is not a jab at y'all. This is just me giving my point of view. Appreciate y'all for keeping y'all platform going. I'm glad we out here. Now
and this his thing.
I'm gonna go back some.
Give me a what? I'm in trouble. Like that's
so. What you would have did?
Would have been squabbling.
And see, T-Rail asked Buddy the question. He say, you know, what would you have done in this situation? This is somebody that you kick it with. Y'all talk on a daily. Y'all working together. How would you have handled the situation?
And I don't think so, but hopefully you ain't slipped up and said this before, or y'all must be cool like that.
Yeah.
But if not, and you just slipped up and said it right there, it's a problem, dog. That's a real problem. I don't give a fuck with the liquor. That's a problem. I'm trouble.
And you see, he say y'all was
Like,
cool.
So what you would have did?
Would have been squabbling.
You would have squabbled him right there.
We'd have squabbled, bro. You just dissed my hood and asked me on that. Give me a what? And you expect me to just be,
But y'all homies.
Nah, we ain't homies. You just said that then. That's like, man, if a nigga said, give me the wop, and this, that, the wop, and this his thing, because you know they go off of twos and trades. He wouldn't, I bet you, he wouldn't have took it that way. On some, oh no, you good. He would have bounced up.
My bad, bro.
No, ain't none of that. He would have bounced up. Hey, we inside. Hey, come on. Yeah, for sure.
And I don't believe that necessarily because I've seen how DW Flame carry himself. And he understands the difference between, well, he's learned the difference between corporate settings and prison rules. So if y'all are not familiar, it's a term that we use called prison rules apply, which means the way we operate inside those walls is the way we operate when shit goes sideways. So like it's easier for people who run in gangs and organizations like GDs, vice lords, etc., to operate under prison rules because these are structures. Not only that, but we are unified in those circumstances. If you go to jail, they put white people with white people, Mexicans with Mexicans, black people with black people, but then they also separate even further to where if you black, sometimes they don't put you with, you know what I'm saying, with rivals depending on how bad the rivalry is. So you might be a blood, you might be a treetop into it with some Hoovers, so they're not gonna put you on a Hoovers block on an area where Hoovers are because they're trying to minimize the violence in those settings. So like if you're a GD, sometimes they don't put you with vice lords. Depends on who those vice lords are and who you are as a GD, where you stand and what you're looking forward to in the future. So we're going long term. 9 times out of 10, they won't really care. Like 20 plus, I'm not gonna get into that. But anyway, the reality is there are certain circumstances when the rules that you're used to apply, and there are certain times you have to adapt to move forward into a new way of thinking when you're chasing a different dynamic. Get what I'm saying?
For sure. So a nigga saying let me get the B word to me, that's out. That's
Even if
out.
you at work.
Even if I'm at work, that's out.
Even if you at work.
Like right
That's
now,
how
we
you
on back
yourself.
on Fig. A nigga come in here and say
Hey,
that
give me the bubble, bro.
we gonna get down. We get down.
But you've been talking to him all day.
And I know, and you ain't
fuck
never
with him. This is
disrespected
multiple
me.
shows.
You never did
So you know the
this.
nigga don't mean no malice.
Oh no, I don't.
You know he don't mean no malice.
So that
what
means
you
they don't
gonna
mean
do?
no malice if I say give me the whoop.
And see, like when he say you've been fucking with Buddy for multiple shows, you know he don't mean no malice. His reply was no, I don't. But see, this is where it's tricky at. I don't let people inside of my circle to where I consider them my people, where we actually have day-to-day conversations, if I don't know you like that. Not being funny, but I read people. So I watch certain things the person says. I watch the way they act. I watch the way they interact with other people. And then I determine what type of person that the individual is based off of that because I'm good at assessing these things. The reason why I'm good at assessing those things is because I've been privy to be around individuals from different walks of life and who have different mindsets in those different walks of life. Like I grew up around motherfuckers who all they want to do is sell dope. I grew up around motherfuckers who didn't want to sell dope, but they wanted to pimp bitches. And they, you know what I'm saying? I grew up around motherfuckers who didn't sell dope, didn't want to pimp bitches, wanted to work a 9 to 5, but still gang bang. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody has their own version of them, who they want to be. So in those situations, growing up, I was able to determine the type of people I was around based off the way they think. And if you think differently from the way I think, or it's detrimental, I don't want to. Now I don't want any ties or any connections with you. Back then, I never cared because I didn't look at it like that. I looked at it like this is just another piece of a puzzle that I need to get where I'm trying to be. So like, I learned how to. I grew up and learned how to associate people who I don't want around me with people who I do want around me. And when T-Rail asking, buddy, like even here in the workplace, like this is something that's gonna register in the back of T-Rail's mind. Even here in the workplace, if a person that I bring in that we think is cool, you know what I'm saying, we have no issues, and they accidentally slip up from a lingo that they've been using for decades. So it's hard to just switch off when you're on camera. You get what I'm saying? So they're used to saying certain things. It comes natural to them. Like if I be like, man, shit, this motherfucker's stupid. You know what I'm saying? Or if I make a comment that I'm used to saying, and then when I get to certain places, I have to fight not to say it. So before I say it, I have to think a million times just to get myself to train myself not to say certain things. Like I haven't used the N-word, bro, in like 8 years. Because I have to train myself not to say this shit. You know what I'm saying? So like you gotta realize at some point you gotta give people what's called leeway. You know what I'm saying? You gotta understand the people that you're talking to and the situations you're in. If you're in a situation where the person you know they mean no malice, then it shouldn't be an issue. But if you're in a situation where you think they might have malicious intent behind what they're saying, you shouldn't be in that setting with that individual. Because you should never you never put yourself in a position to where it takes away from who you are and what you're trying to build as a brand. Like nowadays, we're not in the gangbanging world. We're in the gangbangers get into the podcast world to find a new way of life so they can avoid jails, avoid drug charges, murdering each other. So they can find common ways to use these podcast platforms to come together. And that's a great thing. So with being so, you have to have individuals around you who understand the difference between growth and stagnation. T-Rail's asking Buddy, are you growing or are you stagnant? And Buddy say, I'm stagnant. Because if you say something to me, this is what I'm going to do. The rules of the prison apply, even in podcast form, which is false. Because corporate rules and prison rules, two different worlds. You get what I'm saying?
Wow. And this is shit. And tell him, you know what? You wanted that, huh? Let me get that whoop wop. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So you done did it back.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'd have been a messy ass nigga.
Nah, it's
yeah, pass me that whoop wop.
You
know what I'm
see,
talking about? Pass me you know what?
You don't see the
wanted that,
look on
huh? Let me
T-Rail
get that
face.
whoop wop. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So you done did it back.
When he say, you know what I'm saying, T-Rail didn't say, yeah, I know what you're saying. He just asked me. He just looked at him. No changes to the face. So you would have did it back?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'd have been a messy ass nigga.
He's not laughing.
Yeah.
See, there's no laugh there. He just looked away like, bro, really? We can't grow here then.
Pass me that whoop wop. You know what I'm talking about. Pass me that whoop wop.
See, that's why these street niggas can't be doing podcasts.
That's what I'm
Bing,
saying.
bing. And that's exactly it, bro. See, no laugh. He just literally said it. That's why they can't do podcasts, because you can't separate business, corporate with prison and hood rules. Now, those are different settings, fam. When you bring in these ads, these are corporate dollars. When people go on like back on Fig, to some people it might just be back on Fig, but the reality is that's their brand. This is how they're getting paid. They're using these platforms like this to stop selling dope. They're using these platforms to grow and build, connect, and find a new way out. See, when we limit ourselves, we never get a chance to fully develop. And shout out to T-Rail, man.
That's exactly why y'all niggas can't do podcasts.
If a nigga was doing an interview with you, Terrell, and he said, hey, pass me that whoop pop.
Give me that stupid shit, nigga.
And what you gonna do? What you honestly, what would you gonna say? What would you do, Terrell? You'd be like, well, if he would be like, oh, you know, my bad.
I asked myself this 100 times. That's why I'm asking y'all.
So, but what you do?
Because you put yourself, you gotta kind of react. People, I ain't even gonna say you gotta kind of react. Niggas is reacted to what society will want them to do.
Ding, ding, ding. Because the internet has become the normal society now. See, growing up back in our era, and I know I'm going to sound old when I say this, but growing up back then, we didn't have these internet rules. It wasn't, you weren't able to be a snitch, and then because the internet have a bunch of people who are snitch, they were validated, so now you got a fan base. You didn't have a bunch of motherfuckers who were toxic like that because we couldn't see that shit actively. You know what I'm saying? You only saw the things that were around your community. You get what I'm saying? And then when you come to these social media, you have a bunch of people who never lived a walk of life trying to pretend they lived a walk of life because they watch YouTube videos and they see individuals, so they learn the way they talk. They hear songs and they mimic what they hear in the song. They emulate everything that they see and hear because they don't have access to that actual world. So they'll pretend via song, or they live vicariously through these artists and these podcasters and streamers because they think that that's what it's supposed to be. So they emulating someone, and 9 times out of 10, the people they emulate don't even come from those worlds. Like the reason why I fucks with Back on Fig is simply because these individuals come from that world that I can understand the conversations. I don't feel lost in and there's no I don't have to have a translation. Like we're not lost in translation. We don't have to have translators. I know what they're talking about. I might not understand every word they use as far as their lingo because they LA. Not only that, they Crips, they Hoover. So they use certain words that I don't use and I don't know. And I don't know every word is disrespectful to them. So I don't really know their world. But if I go on a podcast, you know what I'm saying, me not knowing certain words, they will already know that. So it'd be like, hey, bro, look, this is disrespectful to us. Don't say this, don't say this. But me personally, as a folk on a hustler, I don't have that issue. Like, we have GDs and Vice Lords back home. GDs, Vice Lords, Stones, Foes. You know what I'm saying? It's a word that's very disrespectful to the AVLN. You know what I'm saying? 4-letter word, but I'm not going to use. And the reason why it's funny is because growing up, I had homies who was GDs. You know what I'm saying? And we had certain things that were common denominators for us. And those things were the fact that we both gangbang on opposite sides, but we were still doing the same thing, pushing the same direction. You know what I'm saying? I can't say the same direction because they don't have the same beliefs and principles that we do. But we were pushing in the direction of growing and learning and going from kids to teenagers to young men to adults. So this is the process that we were going through together. Now, did we go back and forth with quote unquote dissing each other hood? Yeah, we did. Did we ever have to go to war behind it? No. Why? Because we knew the way the person was saying it and the person that was saying it. It wasn't someone who we had to watch our back around, or somebody that we have real conversations with, somebody that we talk to on a regular basis, and we know what they are and what they aren't. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? So like, it's just a big difference. So, in my honest opinion, if you have individuals who you're trying to build with in a world that's corporate, you have to accept the person's past in order to move forward in the future. The reason why is because you are growing out of your past to become a better person and get these bucks. They're growing out of their past. Let me